Have you guys seen the VO model from Google?
Yeah. Have you guys talked about how Google has gotten some
Google's
religion?
incredible.
Yeah.
They're
They're back in the
firing on
game,
all
baby.
cylinders.
I literally paid.
Shout out to Sundar.
Yeah. And Sergey's going to work every day, by the way. He's at work.
What can Brown do for you, J. Cal? Sundar, back in the group chat.
Okay,
By
there
the
we
way,
go.
did you guys see Genesis yesterday?
Well, okay, let me just put this up here and then I'll tee it up to you, Freeberg. Google has been putting out new models. They have this new Google Gemini, and they have one with deep reasoning and their 2.0 model. I did a side-by-side test, same prompts with our friend Sandeep Madra on This Week in Startups just this week. We did multiple tests. He has the O1 Pro, the $200 per month. Gemini was beating that, hands down, for me. And I think he conceded that with their free model and their $20 model, if we just gave it decent prompts. I think Google now has reached parity, and they have an app out. Freeberg, what are your thoughts? Because people were counting them out, and here we are. I think not only have they caught up, I think they have exceeded. What are your thoughts?
They were late, and the compounding effects are playing out, and it's only going to continue to compound. And I will say the data repository at Google, the engine that they have, the infrastructure, the team, everything down to components is advantaged. And so everyone's been kind of counting them out, but it's clear they're in it to win it. They're here to play.
70% of the usage of OpenAI is consumer.
70% is consumer.
What does that mean for them as Gemini and Google get momentum?
I think you'll end up having a Gemini that has ads eventually. And you could pay and have no ads, or you could not pay and have ads.
No, meaning, do you provide enough value and of enough quality where folks stay on Google?
On Google.com?
I'm asking you whether it impacts OpenAI, the quality of Gemini as it increases, or do you think that these usage cohorts are roughly set?
I jump back and forth personally. My experience is I don't feel like I've got embedded data on OpenAI or on Gemini that makes me stick with one. Just like with Google, I'm going to go to the best interface, the best engine. So I do think that there's fungibility here and people will move over as they realize better results, better performance. But I will say that what we're seeing now with the data advantage at Google, so, the internet, all these LLMs are language models trained on text from the internet, right? There's, call it 50 billion words on the internet. And I think if you estimate the data repository in these training sets, it's like probably a couple terabytes, 1 to 5 terabytes or something like that. But if you look at the video data that's out there, there's hundreds of billions of hours or 100 billion plus hours of video data. A large amount of that is sitting on YouTube. And by some estimates, there's 1,000 exabytes of video data on the internet. So about 1 billion times more video data than there is word or text data. And I think we just saw that play out with the VO model that launched yesterday. But here's some examples of VO. Google has all of this YouTube data, whether or not they're using it to train, I don't know the answer.
I don't think they're allowed to, is what I heard from the insiders. They have
I
to
heard that as
redo
well.
their terms of service to get explicit permission to use it. But you're right, these models are tremendous.
Whatever they're using, and it's basically rendering physics, or it looks like it's rendering physics. Now, Genesis came out yesterday, and it's open source. So you can actually go play with this Genesis model, which similarly renders the actual 3D objects into a 3D environment. So rather than rendering a two-dimensional set of pixels to look at a video visual, with Genesis, as you can see here, you can type in a prompt, and it renders this extraordinary video that also has underlying it the three-dimensional objects that make up the video.
Bananas.
Which means you could change the angle, right? And you could work with it.
And also with Google and this, you can start to implement three-dimensional models based on some prompt that says something like, I want to have the camera angle at this point in the room. Yes. I want to have the room look like this. I want to have this color, this wallpaper. And suddenly everything starts to prompt in a way that you can actually render in real time a video game, a movie, a visual experience. And it goes to this point that we're unleashing the capacity for human imagination and creativity with these systems, because it's no longer just a look-alike two-dimensional image. It's now an actual three-dimensional object that then renders the visuals to make this happen. So we're starting to see, I think, the next era of these models that goes beyond just text prediction.
What do you think, Aaron? Yeah.
There was another release last week of an experimental project for browser use by Gemini, which is another advantage because YouTube has obviously an incredible amount of screen sharing data and videos. So you have, like we think about visual as just like, okay, it's going to be, for developing, CG characters or something, but it's actually just like just all of the use cases of a computer are also on YouTube.
Project Mariner is the name of it, right? where your Chrome extension AI can control your browser to do things. Yeah.
And then if you go to the AI Studio from Gemini, they have a mode where you can turn on your webcam, and then you basically, it has full visual kind of access to anything. And so they're cranking, and it's super exciting because you can tell that Google's woken up and they are just on full assault. So just in 10 days, the quantum, the AI, open source, Gemini updates, it's like every morning you're waking up to a Sundar tweet that is some new breakthrough. So,
well, yeah, it's amazing when you fire 20,000 people who weren't doing any work and were involved in DI nonsense, and then you say, hey, and then Sergey shows up.
That's not the point. The point is they've had this compounding, infrastructure advantage, data advantage, personnel advantage, and now they were just a little late to the game. But when
they were also distracted, is my point. They were distracted with nonsense. You know that's true. Come on, the first version of this came out. It was making Abraham Lincoln African American, and Betsy Ross was Asian. They were distracted.
Okay, a big part of Google's orientation historically has been don't mess up the machine. A classic kind of big company dilemma, where if I do something that's either disruptive to my core business, or if I do something wrong where I will invite regulatory and consumer scrutiny, I'm going to get wrecked. And so they avoided launching stuff early. And what they've done is they've changed the posture in the last 2 years.
Yes.
And now the posture is launch early, launch aggressively, push hard. We have to win this battle or we're going to get eaten alive. And it's amazing to see the founders and Sundar lead this organization.
Yep.
I think there were a lot of question marks a year ago, but I think that the questions have been answered.
I agree. I'm saying it right now. I think we've hit peak OpenAI in the market. I think they're going to be the number 3 or 4 player. I think Gemini, Meta, and XAI are going to lead them. If we're sitting here in 3 years, I think OpenAI is number 3, 4, or 5, not 1 or 2. I don't think they get the 1 or 2 slot. What do you think, Aaron? OpenAI, who's in the 1 and 2 slot?
I don't think you want to bet against Sam and Greg. You don't want to bet against Elon. You don't want to bet against Sergey now. Right. In office with Sundar. You don't want to bet against Zuck. So I think the rankings are kind of less interesting as much as just the fact that it's like game is on. You do not have incumbents that are sleeping at this point. That's just going to push everybody forward. So yeah, it's just an incredible time for everybody.
What a time to be alive.